So that's probably
It does
on me.
say recording, but that's like the header of the box
So
where you
many-
have to hit the button to record.
So many words to read around here.
All right, we are recording now.
Oh, hi. I'm Joe Beal, the founder and CEO of Microcosm Publishing. I'm also the author of A People's Guide to Publishing, which distills what I've learned from selling millions of books over the past 28 years.
I'm Ellie Blue, the Vice President of Microcosm. We started this podcast to share what we've learned with newer publishers, so you can learn from our mistakes. Or maybe you just want to learn about the publishing industry.
This week, we bring back the Bookstore Solidarity Project with, I believe, our most local store to date. Can you introduce yourself and tell us what makes your store unique?
My name is Cierra Cook. I am the owner of Spoken Word Books in Milwaukee, Oregon, which, as you noted, is just like the south side of Portland. Part of what makes our store unique is, Portland is pretty famously queer friendly, right? There's a lot of queer spaces that are really comfortable in Portland. But as you go south, you kind of hit Selwood, and then after you go south of Selwood, queer cultural spaces become a lot more rare and a lot more valuable. And so I think we're a bookstore that serves all people, but we tend to really resonate with our queer community in the South Portland area as a cultural space where people can get together, buy books, but also just meet their friends and neighbors and be seen.
Yay. Awesome. So why did you personally decide to go into book selling? Your store has been open for about a year, right? So this is
almost
new, almost a year.
As a parent too, I think of it in gestational time. So we opened in October. So we would be in the third trimester if we were a pregnancy. We're not even, we wouldn't even be born yet.
So you have labor
a weird way of
too
thinking about it. So we're still little babies. We're not even at a year. And I got into book selling kind of maybe backwards from how many people do. I never have sold books before I opened my own bookstore. I worked in retail for 20 years in non-book retail. And during the pandemic, I think a lot of us were just sitting alone, doom scrolling. And so I was sitting there doom scrolling and why am I doing this? When is something good going to come up? I'm looking for something good to happen. And it's nothing. It's nothing. There's nothing good. And so at some point I was like, well, fuck it. I can do something good. I can do something good. What does my community need? And so it wasn't really thinking we want to have a bookstore. Where should we put our bookstore? It was, what is our community missing that it needs to bring people together and to just have something nice? We deserve nice things. What can we do that's nice for our community? And so for me, it was book selling. And, we operated for about a year and a half before we were a brick and mortar bookstore. We did pop-up events around the Gladstone, Milwaukee, Oak Grove area. And so we had just a tent, and people would come up to us and they'd be like, oh my God, I didn't know Milwaukee had a bookstore. I'm like, well, we kind of do. I have a tent. Welcome to my book tent. But those people have continued with us. And so the people that I've met at those pop-up events still come in and, we're our earliest customers who stuck with us this whole time. So we've slowly evolved from a tent to a brick and mortar that we now have this 1,800 square foot brick and mortar in historic downtown Milwaukee. And we're just really still happy to be here.
Oh,
congratulations on your walls. That is a fantastic upgrade.
Yeah, that mural is awesome too.
Our space is a little it's just kind of like a big drab box. And so when we moved in, we tried to embrace maximalism.
Yes. Beautiful.
Yeah, that's great. So what is your day-to-day role like, and what makes for the most fun in a day?
Yeah. It kind of flows throughout the week. And I'm sure this is true of most booksellers, is beginning of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's just planning and getting recovered from the weekend. So, purchasing, scheduling, paying bills, blah, blah, blah. But the weekend and the evenings are really fun because that's when it picks up. That's when you have customers come in. You can really take some time to talk to them. Our bookstore is small enough that we can really, even if we're not physically next to a customer, we can really be with them while they're shopping. And then if we see them linger in an area, we get to oh, you're picking that up. That's a good one. Or or like watch out for that one, you're gonna cry so hard. Like we can really and we intentionally, actually, I don't know if you can see this, we intentionally put our romance section like right here, because romance is my favorite genre. I know it's like everybody has feelings about that one way or the other, but I love romance. I will stand romance forever. And so as people come up to romance, I'm like, oh, hey, let me know. That's my area of expertise. And so I love it when customers shop romance. I'm like all over their butts and like just want to talk to people about romance.
I love that.
Yay, love.
We many years ago we had a in our bookstore, we had the romance section and the sex section a little too close to the counter, and people got I mean, this is like 2008, 2009. They would get real squirmy just to like even look at the books.
Right. It wasn't like okay to talk about or think about that then. And now it is.
The world is
thanks in part.
The world has changed. And we put some bold ones out there. There's like a lot of subgenres that like in romance lately. And I had a customer come in not too long ago and she was shopping with her friend and she was like looking at our romance section and she's like, oh, she's like, some of these are like, they're like Kindle books. And like what she meant by that was like, why would anyone like be seen buying this book or like have this cover of a book? Which is really interesting. And I think is a lot of the reason that people do buy digital books is because there's like this feeling of judgment or shame or, and so we kind of go hard in the other direction and we put those books on display to kind of spark conversation and then maybe when you buy your like contemporary romance, you feel like that's a little more mainstream. You feel a little less bad about that.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, as a relative newcomer to the industry, you've probably worked with some publishers. I know you've worked with us. Thanks for that. What do you wish that more publishers understood about your business, your needs?
You're probably going to get a unique answer to this because I am such a green bean in the industry. I think what folks should know is everybody's starting in a different place, right? So some publishers really like assume that as we've established relationships with some of the big five publishers, they assume that we know more than we do. And we're like, I don't know what we're doing at the bookstore. And I think that's actually one of the reasons that working with Microcosm, like you were the first publisher that we worked with because you have someone who, so like Annalisa, like who really held our hand through the opening a store process and like not only helped us order books and helped us like figure out what a good, she listened to what our community needed, helped us determine what books would be a good fit. But then also like helped us understand how to go about certain things in the industry. And so like that early advice was really invaluable.
Annalisa is a gem and I'm so happy that we were able to make that connection.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then like the turnaround time, I think from smaller publishers is huge. It's like, it's amazing because we're so small, we're just starting out. Our ups and our downs are dramatic. Like we go from like, we are either slammed or dead and there's nothing in between. There is no consistency. And so, I can't call Penguin and be like, I got my ass kicked this weekend. Like, I need these now. Like, I couldn't get on the phone with someone. Nobody's going to care or listen to me. But, giving you guys a call, it's like same day delivery. I'm very lucky. I live in Portland for anyone else listening.
Right. Right. And that is an amazing thing. Like with our staff, like there's sometimes they'll panic a little bit where they're like, this customer made a pickup order and it's a bookstore. Do I need to drop what I'm doing and like pull it right now? And you're like, no, like see what happened. Like if they are going to be here in an hour, they will let you know.
And that's the thing is like, you guys are just lovely. I've always told like, Terry and Annalisa, who I work with, like, you don't have to deliver. You don't have to hand deliver this to us. You don't have to have this ready same day, but like, it's really just having partners who care about your success is great.
Right. And that's part of it too. I mean, maybe I shouldn't tell you this, but most big five publishers, what their actual game is they have new titles and then they have, let's say, overblown marketing budgets on those titles. So they will talk about a book that is like going to be a total flop in a year. Like it's like the most important book that you could ever put in your store. And so that like that's the actual game that they're playing. So then they'll use like jargon to communicate that rather than being like, whereas like a good salesperson would actually go as far as saying something like, I don't think this book is a good fit for your store. Even though like my job is to push it extensively on everyone. And it's like we get these pitches from publishers all the time where we're like, why would you even send us that? Like you clearly had to send a certain number of samples, or you never would have thought to send this to.
Yeah. Yep. I got tricked by that early on. I got like, there was one particular title where I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I missed this. And then I brought it in and I was like, damn it, I got tricked. I got bamboozled. And so I think that was a really early and luckily easy to rectify mistake. But definitely there's, everybody has a reason for that. But I've always been really grateful for like people who actually understand what you're doing, right? And I think because you guys are local, because you guys are so hands-on, you actually see what we're doing and can give us better advice than like a general marketing email saying that Argyle is going to be the top mystery book of 2024.
Oh my gosh. I mean, also
no
like
shade. Sorry, no shade.
Like some of our best customers are local or Oregon regional stores that buy from us like every week for decades. And that's we like for us to like cultivate you into that is way better for us in the long run than for us to be like, hey, can you help us out with these 6 new titles? Whereas like everything with a giant corporation has to be a little short-sighted because they're looking at their quarterly stockholder reports or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And
there's some VPS to make their numbers.
Yeah.
And
and it's like they've paid too much of an author advance, so they've had to inflate a marketing budget, and then for it to pencil out, they look at it as they're like, okay, each store has to sell 13 copies on average, so in order to do that, we have to put it in every store, even ones where they're going to look at it and just like shake their head in bewilderment. And it's just, it's interesting too, because in my experience, which is completely the opposite, like if we sell even too many copies of a book or too many of the wrong titles to a store, the very next thing that happens is they develop the perception that they're like, oh, your books aren't very popular, or they're not well received here. Like
they're not a good fit for our store. Yeah.
And then they just cut you out.
And they return them, which is such a pain in the butt.
It just like makes no sense to me. But so what are some other things, could be like that, could be different from that publishers do that they think are really important, but just makes no sense to your store?
To be honest, I don't have a great answer for that because I don't interact with many publishers. Like honestly, we're such small fry. We are such little bitty green beans that like honestly, Microcosm is the only publisher that we have a real relationship with. I have a rep for other publishers who does a great job, but I'm small potatoes. And so I really just get like I get a markup and like that's it. And so I don't really, it's like it's not that different from ordering on a website,
Well, if we're talking another year, you might have more answers for us.
Be like, we're the cats.
Get in a year.
So for you, like as you go about your day running the store, selling books, what's the most important part of it for you?
Giving people a sense of community, which you can do by selling a book, right? Just letting people feel seen, like listening to what they want, like really, truly deep listening to what they want, asking questions to kind of help them figure out what they want, and then pairing them with a book. But like, that's not really about the book. That's about them like being seen and heard and valued. And then, given a piece of art, because like all books are just like pieces of art when you think about it, that reflects their experience or reflects what they're looking for. So I find a lot of joy in that. And then we have a like kick-ass event schedule because we kind of like, and I don't know what this typically looks like for like bookstores in development, but we have a June, like looking for my June events calendar at the desk. This is like a partial June events calendar for us. And our goal is to have and our goal is to have 3 events a week. Because we really do, like, we're a bookstore, but we really want to be the cultural hub of Milwaukee. We have people who come to our book clubs, and there's one person in particular who I think is really shy, like just really, really shy. And so they'll come to our book clubs and they don't say a word. They don't say a word, but after each one, they come to me and they say, "Hey, I'm too shy to say anything, but I'm just so happy to be here and listen to everybody." And so, like, I feel like we're all really like we're rebuilding and growing our social networks after COVID. And I think everything that we do is really in service to that, of like trying to bring people together and introduce them to their neighbors and give them a place where they feel supported and valued.
I love that. That's, yeah.
I got a little teary.
Yeah, this was, and we had similar experiences in the before times.
Yeah.
Where we would have people that would come to events, and sometimes for years, and then never say anything, and then years and years later, they would be like, they would send a letter and be like, "That was totally transformative in my life, and this is like what was going on for me," and you're like, whoa.
I think our last party that we used to have like regular like seasonal release parties, and they weren't ever very well attended, like because all our people were introverts. So the last one we did, we like decided to lean into that and have it just be like a silent reading party, and that was actually our most popular one.
Dude, we had our first silent book club, because that's like a whole thing now, is like silent book clubs. So we had our first one a week ago, and it sold out like instantly. And we had people calling, and they were like, I can't buy tickets on your website. And we're like, yeah, we're sold out. And they're like, no. Well, yeah. So we had to we have 2 next month, because that was like we hit the capacity. It's a small bookstore, guys. Like, we hit our capacity of how many people we could fit in here. But yeah, I think people are looking for connection and like low effort connection too, right? Where they don't feel like they have to do something or like be put on the spot. Like, I think those silent events are a really great way to like lower the bar for entry.
So what happens at a silent book club?
So Silent Book Club is actually a trademarked, like TMTM, like a trademarked thing. So we are an official chapter. It's not hard to be an official chapter, but you have to be an official chapter. So we are an official chapter of Silent Book Club. For the first hour, everybody settles in, and we provide some seating, but some venues also like make you bring seating. They'll be like, bring blankets and like make a little nest on the floor, and everybody's settles in and reads in silence for an hour. It's like parallel play for grown-ups. I don't know if you're like a child development person. Everybody reads in silence for an hour, and then after that you can open it up to like talk to the people around you. So then after that, it's like, okay, thank you for coming, let's all like get to know each other a little bit. And so you can talk about what you like, what you don't like, and everybody's reading something different, so you can come away with some recommendations for what to read as well.
I love that, because it's like you're not just thrown into a social scenario with people. You've had time to like observe them and think about what they're wearing and what they're reading, and who you want to talk to and what you might say, instead of just being like anxious.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to retroactively term ours a non-speaking book club meeting. So.
Yes. Quiet time book club. TMTM, and then trademark it so that nobody can.
Oh, good idea. Yes. So you're a connoisseur near the heartbeat. So what are the trends? And you like actually listen to your customers. Great job on that, by the way. So what is it that your customers are looking for that you're not finding available in print? Like, what are the emergent trends?
I think it's an offshoot. I will argue that what they're looking for is an offshoot of romance. So like everybody knows romance is the fastest growing genre.
Mm-hmm.
And my personal perspective on why that is, as a romance aficionado, is that it's not necessarily about the smooching. There's lots of ways to get smooching, right? It's not about the smooching. It's about centering women's experiences, and having a guaranteed happy ending. Like, we're living in the year of our Lord, 2024. Like, everybody wants to know that they are in good hands. Like, that they're going to be left not with like a gaping hole of despair at the end of reading this book. They want to know that they're in safe hands. They're going to have a happy ever after or a happily for now which I think is the appeal of romance. So I think that's why we've seen romance sales grow. I think what I see as being an unserved demand is that comforting, like that comfort vibe, right? That's not romance. So, a book that centers women, non-binary, queer people's voices and has that like guaranteed happy ending that isn't necessarily a romance. So like Travis Baldree, like Legends and Lattes.
Yes.
You guys have Goblin Core, which like has been, I don't even know if it's back in stock yet. Like it was like out of stock for forever because everyone was like going for Goblin Core. But anything with those like cozy vibes, I feel like some of the genres are really leaning into it too. Like what's that anthropomorphic mystery, Shady Hollow?
Yes, I read that.
Yeah.
Cozy mystery, cozy fantasy. It's cozy, right? That's
yes.
the.
So I think cozy. I think that's well said, Ellie. Like I think cozy, like cozy anything, like that people can trust that they're going to have a safe place to land at the end of the book.
I read a book recently that was like cozy fascism. That one I felt like went a little bit too far. It was like hard science fiction.
Was it nonfiction?
No, it wasn't. It was a novel that
Well,
I don't think it quite achieved what it set out to achieve.
Emotionally, it was nonfiction.
It hit too close to home.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. Anyway, do you have a funny bookstore story yet that you would like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I had yes. I had okay, and we were talking about romance. So we have a lot of romance in the store. And romance is really like famous for having like off the wall covers, like really like outrageous covers. So it was like a Tuesday morning. It was just like very slow in the store. And this mom comes in with her 7-year-old, I would say about 6 or 7-year-old daughter. And it was the dad's birthday. So they were trying to buy something for the 7-year-old's dad. And so they're walking around the store and they spend like half an hour like, oh, do you think daddy would like this one? Oh, I don't know. He doesn't really like that. Oh, do you think daddy would like this one? Oh, I don't know. Okay. And then hang on a second. I'm going to show you what she found.
Uh-oh.
This is going to be good.
Should I be nervous?
Hey, we should definitely be nervous.
Yeah.
But I also can't wait. All right.
And so they found on the front table, the 6-year-old picked up this book and said, oh, look, this book's for daddies.
Oh, boy.
The book, so for our listening audience, the book is called Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reed, and it features 2 chiseled male torsos.
With their hands hovering around their waists.
Yes, there's definitely our hands in the hip region.
Mm-hmm.
So what was delightful is this
about daddies for daddy.
It is. I mean, it like no cap. Like it is for daddies. It is a great book for daddies. But what was delightful is the mom bought the book for her husband because it was a funny story with her daughter, right? Of like, oh, this book's for daddies. And then also it's a great romance. I mean, it was on my front table because I keep hand selling this like hockey romance. This is like a beautiful male hockey romance, like rivals to lovers kind of thing. So she was like, I'm gonna get it for a joke for my husband, but also like I want to read it. Your recommendation sold me. I want to read this one.
This book could change their lives.
Yeah, you don't know what you've inserted into this relationship.
Everybody's going to start watching hockey.
Yes, that's what I was getting at.
Scandalous.
That's what it was. Yeah, clearly, definitely.
So, real story. We have one of our authors lives near you and comes in regularly, and my doctor apparently also lives very close to you and is a regular customer. And she came to back to me and was like, I went in the store and they had tons of your stuff in there. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. What was the store? And then she was like, it's spoken word. And it's like, actually, it's my neighborhood bookstore. And I was like, wow, that neighborhood bookstore, that's awesome. And she was like, but I feel like they should have even more of your books. And so I jokingly sent this to our sales team, and I was like, well, my doctor thinks that the store should have even more of our books. And they were championing of each other. They were like, no, Annalisa is doing a fantastic job with that store and it's going very well. And your doctor is wrong. And and
This is incorrect.
but then the best part is that, as it turns out, Annalisa actually has the same doctor that I do.
Stop it.
And then got to come back and be like, no, that's actually my doctor.
That's hilarious. I love that. Oh, I
Mhm.
love that.
And that is a real story. And
I hope they worked it out between the two of
yeah,
them.
who gets to own the doctor? Who?
Maybe this
how
doctor
many-
needs a side hustle selling your books. It sounds like they're very passionate.
That's a great idea.
And then
We
yeah,
could set up a shop in the waiting room, a pop-up.
and
Mhm.
like, what is the correct number of microcosm books that should be in spoken word? I think that's the actual debate.
I feel like our zines pop up our overall number pretty high. I also love that you guys distribute zines because it's hard to get. I love the idea of getting zines, but there's not, I don't know if there's zine distributors. Like, I don't even know.
That's us.
Because I don't have the time to I don't have the time to like contact individual like zine makers. But actually one of our best sellers is a zine of yours, which is pelvic pain. And like I didn't realize it was such a pervasive issue, but like I have been buying them 8 at a time, which for us is a high quantity.
Wow.
And like they fly on out of here. Like apparently everybody's living with pelvic pain, and like having these like, small, people aren't going to buy like a 300-page like, medical text about that, but like getting some helpful information in the hands of people, like that's great.
I feel like more books should be zines, especially medical books, because when you read them, there's so much filler. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to use that now, Ellie. More books should be zines.
More books should be zines. Take that from us.
Yeah. And that's exactly the point of a publication like that, because it's like, I have lived with pelvic pain most of my life unknowingly. And then when I finally like understood the issue, I'm never going to read a book about pelvic pain. But when we got that submission, I was like, this is gold.
Yeah.
This is like this. And, and the author, like her point was basically the same thing, where she was like, so many people are living with this that have no idea.
Yeah, you don't even know it's a thing. And like I feel like that's part of the function of the zine, is it's almost like a bumper sticker or something that's like, hey, this is a thing, this is an identity, this is an experience you could have.
Yeah, that's
I mean it. And honestly, like seeing how people buy it too, is a lot of times people will sandwich it in between other books. Like they don't want to walk around with it. And it's like, my friend, if you only knew how many people are like getting the same thing and have the same issue, like, yeah.
Oh.
And that's the thing where like even my PT who specializes in the pelvis, even she is like, how did you know to come here? Like what like I don't get any clients that aren't pregnant. Like, how did you end up here? And I was like, my same doctor referred me because she was smart enough.
Maybe they read the zine.
Right?
Maybe they're the ones sending people to your store for the zine.
I love it.
All the way around. But yeah, that is
full circle.
And in the 70s, like publishers used to do stuff like that back when they called them pamphlets. And then what would happen is they would like swell just a little bit, and they would have like exaggerated typesetting until they could be like 96 pages and 895, and nowadays it would be like 1395. But like it's basically still the zine, and a lot of them are still the identical content because the author is deceased. And I don't know, but it is fascinating because you're not the only one that has brought up the zines as like something that sets us apart. So
yeah. And there's that series, gosh, I wish I knew the name of the series, but it's like a vindication of the US Postal Service and like how to get off Facebook and like all these like really cool topics where it's like nobody's gonna buy a book about I'm sure there are a lot of people who would buy a book about the Postal Service, but the barrier for entry for learning about something new is just so much lower and so much more accessible. And then it really sets us apart as a retailer, right? Because we have that information, we have that kind of like, stuff that you're not going to come in for, but when you're browsing around, you're like, oh, I'm so glad I found this here. You're not going to find that at Barnes & Noble.
Well, feel free to send people to us with their zine submissions. If you go to microcosm.pub/FAQ, we have a submission form. And if you have people asking you for topics, let us know. And we often will have someone waiting in the wings who's like, yeah, I'll write a zine about chocolate covered bees.
Well, you have like werewolf. There's a lot of esoteric topics you guys are ready to cover. You guys have already got.
Covered bees one would be a part of our queer erotica series, I think.
Probably.
I'm just gonna go write that right now.
And on that note, thanks for joining us once again.
Please send your questions to podcast@microcosmpublishing.com so we can answer them on future episodes.
And please give us 5 stars on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts are reviewed.
You can find us on the internet at microcosm.pub,
On Twitter at microcosm,
on Facebook at Microcosm Publishing,
on Instagram at microcosm_pub.
and here in Portland, Oregon on North Williams Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful week.
Really excited to be able to share some stuff about my store, and I think everybody deserves a neighborhood bookstore, and I'm so grateful that we get to be that, and I'm grateful for your partnership in helping that happen, and yeah, I'm just loving life.
Awesome. Everyone, next time you're in the Portland area, if you're there now, head south to Milwaukee and visit Spoken Word. You might just get to meet Cierra and learn about their recommendations related to hockey.
And
Yeah, pick up some male hockey romance. We have other stuff too, but we know what we're coming for.
Everybody.
Love it.
All right, it was great to meet you.
Thanks for everything.
You too.
You again. Yay.
Of course. Good to see you guys.